Hi, everyone, and thank you very much for joining our third session of Turn Digi. Really excited to have another three great speakers here today. I'm going to be sharing the stage we have Areej, the founder of Women in Tech SEO. We have Simon Cox, and we also have Maret. So very happy for them to be on our Turn Digi event today. If you're enjoying the show so far, click the like button of this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm SEO Joe Blogs, and I set up Turn Digi to support entrepreneurs and promote rising talent, and also encourage conferences and companies to have a diverse range of speakers. So really pleased today we have 9 out of our 12 speakers that are running their own business, and we're dialing in from 5 different countries. So thank you very much to our speakers for joining us today, and thank you for everyone for joining in the audience. I'm now going to pass over to Areej, who is going to give us some great practical tips on how you can get that tech SEO implemented at your company. So if you have any questions for Areej, do drop them in the chat and we'll be answering them afterwards. Over to you, Areej.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joe. I'm going to do the bit where I share my screen and I ask everyone if they can see it. Okay, I need confirmation.
Not yet. Can't see it yet, but maybe try it again. We were working on this earlier and it was working, but there's always a technical difficulty. Oh, so I'm gonna, yeah, oh, here we go. Okay, there it is. Thank you very much. So over to you, Areej. The floor is yours.
Great. So I want to start off by saying a massive, massive thanks to Joe for inviting me to speak today. This is her third Turn Digi, and I think what she's doing with it is brilliant. We have 66% women representation today, which is awesome. And she also does a lot of work with bringing people who have their own businesses, people from all around the world. So thank you so much, Joe, for asking me to be a part of this today. And I'm also really honored to be with both Simon and Maret, who are two very, very brilliant people. So I am the founder of Women in Tech SEO. Women in Tech SEO is a brilliant community. It has over 2,000 members. We run all kinds of meetups. We've got Slack, we've got Facebook. We're here to empower and support one another. In my day-to-day, I'm also SEO manager at Zoopla, which is a property aggregator site. I have over 7 years experience in SEO. I went from agency side to client side, and I prefer client side. I've co-authored Mastering in In-House SEO. And generally, when people ask me what I like the most about SEO, the bigger and messier a site is, the happier I feel. Okay, so in 2019, I did a 220 slides talk on indexability issues. It was all about this job aggregator site. They had tons of problems. What was the best way that I could possibly fix that? What did I recommend? But the interesting thing is that there was only one slide that resonated the most with everyone. And it was this slide. This was inspired by Hannah Smith, who made me realize that this is kind of the summary of my talk. I started the talk and I ended it with the fact that technical problems are people problems. And I did this talk back when I was agency side, and lots of client side SEOs came up to me and said that they fully relate to this. So it made me realize that when I move client side, this is something that I really need to consider and in the forefront of my mind. So this time round in this talk, instead of reflecting on the problem, I want to focus on the solution and what we can all do about it. So I call this the audit curse. It's something that I've come to realize after quite a while of doing technical SEO audits. When I was agency side, I used to send 100 pages worth of audit documents to each client. It kind of made me feel a bit proud. I would be like, check me out. I've done 100 pages of audit. This is so awesome. I've managed to find all of these issues. But in reality, the amount of recommendations that actually used to get implemented were tiny, We're so tiny, we're so small. I tried to count them at one time and it got me really depressed about who I am and what I do. So I've stopped counting them, but I can confirm that the number is tiny. A 10-day technical audit retainer, as an example, should not equate to 100-page audit document. Just because your client has paid you 10 days of work, it does not mean that you need to give them 100 pages or so of audit document. So in order to be part of the solution, I realized that I need to change the way that I deliver audits. So whether you're agency side or client side, hopefully this talk will be applicable for both, because I found that it helps me when I'm client side, but also this is something that I wish I knew when I was agency side. Okay, so I'm going to spend the next few minutes splitting up things in the power of three. I read a book about that. I feel very smart now when I go up and talk to anyone and start a conversation and say, well, it's three things. And then I kind of think about the 1, 2, 3. It feels more structured and organized. So I'm going to do that. So that is number 1, recommend, number 2, prioritize, and then number 3, implement. So recommend, let's get started. So the first piece of advice I would give under recommendation is that you need to ensure that you conduct one audit at a time. Do not try to cram everything in one audit. I used to do technical SEO audits, and they would include, it felt like a dissertation. It would literally include chapters and chapters of stuff within it. But instead, if you give audits split up in specific reasoning and specific things, then you're able, for example, to give a schema audit, a mobile audit, a speed audit, an audit just to focus on internal links. And then it makes it really, really helpful for people who are receiving that to know exactly what to work on and what to do. Secondly, split out your recommendations by site templates. Now, this is something I've come to realize working on a property aggregator site, for example. I can't simply give recommendations and say, some things might be site-wide, but still it's better to try to split that by which specific template does it touch. At the end of the day, no matter how big your site is, you probably wind up just having a handful of templates. So you're able to show each recommendation on which template it's related to. Then thirdly, it's really important to document both issue and fix. Now, each fix needs to be outlined in detail and provide some form of evidence, because let's say you've done the audit and then in 6 months' time, it's finally been taken out of the backlog and people are going to focus on what needs to be done. You yourself will probably not even remember example URLs or what it looked like or what it was. So by ensuring that all of your audits have those included for each and every recommendation, it makes it very, very helpful down the line. And then a bonus point to add on recommend is to deliver your recommendations in a format that works best for the developer. So this is a conversation that you need to have from the very beginning. And whether you're agency side, and this is a call that you need to make when you first agree the work, or your client side, and you need to sit with your product team, in both cases, it's very important to know what kind of format would they like, what kind of deliverable do they hope to see. Do they want things in a Word doc? Do they prefer that tickets just go within Jira? What works for them best? Okay. Secondly, prioritize. I'm going to take a deep breath. So with prioritize, it's all about the SEO impact and the dev effort. So when it comes to the SEO impact, how much of an impact will this recommendation likely have on your overall organic traffic? I like to size things up using T-shirt method because it's super straightforward and it's very easy to understand, and a lot of people use it. So every single recommendation that I have can easily be split into small or medium or large. Now, I had that same conversation with our developers in terms of how much effort will this recommendation take. Absolutely do not try to answer that yourself on behalf of the developer. Ask them directly. It's very rude to assume that you know. Imagine someone who doesn't know anything about SEO coming up to you and telling you, yeah, meta descriptions are high SEO impact. And you're like, no, dude, not really. So it's so important that everyone kind of sticks to their expertise. So when it comes to dev effort, it's important for them to size that up as well. And when I chatted to my developers about it, they said that they really would measure that in terms of number of sprints. And we decided that small, medium, and large isn't just enough for them. They'd also need an X large. So for them, small is considered to be 1 sprint, and X large is a project that would take more than 3 sprints. This depends from one team to another, so it's just really important to have these conversations from the start. And then that helps you make a prioritization matrix. So for every single identified issue, there is an SEO impact and a dev effort. And when you add those together, you then have your priority. So this is the table that I always tend to use. I add that as a tab to every single Google Sheet audit document that I have. It looks a little bit too much, but it's super straightforward, because as long as you copy it from one audit sheet to the other and you use a VLOOKUP or a match index for people who do not like VLOOKUPs for some weird reason, then that makes you easily plug in and play. Because once you know what the SEO impact is and what the tech effort is, it will tell you what the priority is. Again, depends on one person to the other. I personally would say that if the SEO impact is medium and the tech effort is small, I would still say that's high, but some people might not agree and say that's medium. So use that in a way that works for you best. So then thirdly, on implement. So one at a time gets the job done. 100%. This is so important. If you try to cram too many things and fix too many things in one go, then most likely you're not really going to get much done. But if you focus on those high priority tickets and then you try to get them done one at a time, you're more likely to get the job done. Secondly, it's so important as SEOs, especially SEOs who work within technical SEO, to be the product manager of our own recommendations. So we shouldn't be putting all of this on different product owners and different developers. We should really be owning that work ourselves. So if your developer needs Jira tickets written, you should write those Jira tickets yourself. You, over anyone else, are going to understand the requirements, what's needed, the considerations, what is the definition of done. You will be able to do that. And try to involve yourself as much as you can. So if you can attend their stand-ups, if you can attend their backlog refinements, their sprint planning. Now, you might be thinking, but I'm agency side, I'm not really involved with this. But this is the way that you can tailor that example 10-day retainer. Instead of spending time writing 100 pages or so of audit documentation, you can spend time planting yourself within that team. And this is a good way for you to consider how technical SEO retainers can be more long-term as opposed to something that's just a few days worth of work. And then thirdly, test and monitor every step of the way. So make sure that you test on a dev environment before pushing live. If you're able to crawl that dev environment as well, that's much better. Usually you just need to be whitelisted, but it should work. When things are pushed live, monitor changes in your logs, in your traffic, in your rankings. Don't expect things to be done overnight. It might take a few weeks or even a few months, depending on the scale of change, to see some of those changes. Update the issue status in your audit because it's really important to keep track on what's been done and what hasn't been done. And this is Maret's favorite. It's to annotate changes in GA. She was like, you have to make sure you include this, Areej. So I have included that for her, especially for Maret. So to wrap up, I want to introduce you to the RPI framework. And this is not a known framework. I have made it up because white dudes always make up frameworks, and I figured I might as well make up one. I use Google Sheets and I added a process thing, and that was it, but I am so proud of it. So recommend, prioritize, implement. This is an ongoing cycle, one issue after the other, one fix after the other. It works. Trust me, it really works. And I wanted to try to say something super inspiring and motivating to wrap things up. There is no done when it comes to technical SEO. It is a continuous process of improvement. So please take a picture of that, screenshot it, add it on Twitter, and just tell me that you feel inspired, because then I'll feel better about myself. I've added my slides here because I'm very organized. They are on, what is it? SlideShare. And I even have an automated tweet that will go out any minute now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was great. So
How
many
did I do in timing?
Perfect tips. I wasn't timing. Sorry, I didn't time you. I trusted your timing. Really great comments from everyone. Yes to GA and annotation. So often this is forgotten. Really nice looking slides. Prioritization makers. Everyone really likes them. yes, to the t-shirt method. So so organized with an automatic tweet too. Yes. So yeah, such inspiration, fabulous. Thanks, Areej. So really great. I know you're short on time. Do we have time for one question?
Yeah, go for it. I have a meeting at 2:30, but yeah, whatever works for everyone else, because I don't know how I did on timing.
You were very good. I just have one question then, really, because you did a lot about this matrix. Did you find that if you, at the end of sort of your sprint cycle, if your recommendations were not implemented, did people sort of come back and say, well, what did you guys do this quarter? Did you have many of those?
Oh yeah, all the time. Well, that always happens. And it's just about you embedding yourself within the product team. There is no, I don't think there should be such a thing as, oh, SEO did this or SEO did that, or that's the success that we have. As long as you can embed yourself with other teams, and then it becomes a team effort. So as a whole, product and SEO have worked on this together, and they winded up doing that. It should be our KPIs, and it should also be their KPIs. The best compliment I got about this prioritization matrix and splitting things by templates was he's like a chief architect, like one of our main architect engineers. And I was like, whoa, if he's convinced of the way that we're prioritizing stuff and we're splitting stuff up, then we're speaking the same language. And that makes a massive difference then. It's just about getting on the same foot and getting on the same page as your product team and your developers.
Great. Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you very much, Areej. Appreciate your time. Really happy to have you here, the founder of Women in Tech SEO Group. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, and good luck, Simon and Maret. And I'm so sorry I have to leave. You guys are brilliant.
Thank you, Areej. So I'll pass over to Simon, who will share his screen. And then he's going to be talking to us all about the adventures in the land of Wix. So, Simon, ready when you are.
I think it's that one. Let's see.
And thanks everyone for liking the video so far. If you are still enjoying the show, do click that nice little like button and subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Over to you, Simon.
Well, thank you, Areej, for a fantastic talk. And a lot resonated with me there, a little bit in this as well. So hello, everyone. This is about my adventures in the land of Wix. Why isn't that go? Thank you. So my wife told me in October that we had taken on a new client to run their marketing support, including the website. Great, I thought. It's a Wix, she said. I thought. Wix doesn't actually have the best reputation when it comes to SEO. But then there's nothing I like more than tilting at windmills. Good Spanish reference there for Joe. It's a badger site, she said. This made me suspiciously happier. But I'd missed the mark by some way. It wasn't them at all. It was, in fact, a company called the Badger Trust, who are a fantastic organisation promoting and enhancing the welfare and conservation of badgers, their sets and habitats. After all, who doesn't love a badger? Of course, I had to give something up for this, and that was shaving. Anyway, Wix. There are a lot of Wix websites out there. 3.8 million live sites apparently, but 400,000 of those are paid plans, and about 8,000 of those topping the 1 million ranked websites. It's very, very easy for businesses users to add content to Wix, and that's why it's so popular. Obviously not as popular as WordPress, but it is popular. So at some point you're going to come across Wix sites either as clients or potentially as competitors to your clients. So naturally, the first thing we did was an audit of the site, just to understand what was going on. I mean, it's not a particularly massive site. The SEO score was quite good, which is a surprise. Security was a bit of a worry. Nothing to do about that because I can't talk to the Wix development team like Areej can, or a 2A development team. But I said, hey, let's give it a go. So we accepted the contract and did some more in-depth analysis. And once we got access to GSC and GA, we were able to find a fair few issues. You can see there's orphan pages everywhere, and they're always a worry. Might be doorway pages or old forgotten content. So we look further, and this was a good one. We did obviously visual checks with SEO Minion on internal links, and you can see there what we do, and badges aren't showing up as links, which is a bit of a worry. So if you actually hover over badges, you get a drop-down menu, which is nice. It's built in JavaScript, of course, to show the submenus. Google, as we know, can read JavaScript lovely. Can't read this though. Now, business people won't understand this and why it doesn't work. It looks lovely, but there's no link actually in there to follow. So I went and had a look at the stats in Google Search Console, and that was 2019, most of it, and not very good. 55 impressions, all on 1 or 2 days, no clicks whatsoever. So what was going on? Well, in Wix's interface, you've got this lovely site menu, and you can see badges there is a folder, which you can then tuck other pages underneath. Why? I don't know. A bit further down is Get Involved. That is a page and it has subpages. Now that works perfectly. So I could have rebuilt all that, but it's my first time into Wix, and I was like a bit worried about what might happen. Yes, there's development bits you can use, but I did something else instead. I had to keep the submenu. Time and budget didn't allow other stuff to do. So what I did was I built a hand-coded set of links at the bottom of the page. And did it work? Yeah, it did. And that's what we saw. Something remarkable happened. Google found it, started crawling the pages, and impressions started to go up, which was great. We were off and running. Now, Wix has a shed load of elements that can easily be placed into a page without any thought. You can just drag and drop them in there. Loads. So there's a huge, massive list. This is just the menus bits and a tenth of what's in there. So with all these drag and drop elements to make your page up, what is actually going on underneath? Well, this. And on the badges page, this is the H1 element, and that is on line 5,906, which is quite a long way down. And the end of the page is on line 6,492. There's 1,200 words of content on that page, 6,390 characters without spaces, which means you could have a character per line and still have space left over if you didn't have all the scripts, etc. It's absolutely nuts. But it's the price you pay for business users being able to drag and drop on that interface, which is what Wix is. It's an easy entry CMS. And we mustn't forget that. It's not built for SEO. So what does this look like in Lighthouse? Well, you guessed. Performance is utterly dreadful. There's too much JavaScript being loaded. There we go. 259 requests, 101 were JavaScript files. It actually took 45 seconds to load this on broadband fully. There's other stuff that goes on in the background. No CEO is going to choose a theme based on how many JavaScript files there are. It's just on what it looks like. So despite this, we cracked on. And we started tracking in AccuRanker how much visibility there was. Started off about 4.5 to 7K, got up to 7K by end of November. We were happy with that. Then we looked at the opposition. Not so happy with that. RSPCA, Woodland Trust, and Wildlife Trust are the three big competitors, and they are just way above. So we cracked on, made some basic changes. This is a good one. All the headings were H2s. I don't know why. So nice little bit in Wix, you can actually go in and change the headings to whatever heading you want. It won't change the look and feel. So I went and changed all those to H1s. That was good. And we got a bit of movement. And at the end, that wasn't the only thing. We wrote some content as well. But by the end of December, we'd overtaken the RSPCA and Wildlife Trust. So we were quite happy. Obviously, still a lot to do. Meanwhile, Woodland Trust. Wildlife Trust is also making some gains there as well, which is annoying, to say the least. So we're looking at the site, those orphan pages. There's a lot of links going on, but there was a couple of pages that had outlinks only. Could have been doorway pages, and maybe Google was looking at them like doorway pages, but they actually weren't. So we did some internal linking. I think they're actually caused by the navigation. Went through, did some internal linking, built up some topics, like Maret's going to talk about later. But Wix does make this quite hard. Oh yeah, and the tip, Always check your mobile view on Wix as well. It is different, and it will hide things. There's a hidden elements 3 there, and actually this is all right for this particular page. But you do need to go through the whole site and check what it's doing on mobile, especially when Google is now calling sites as mobile and not desktop, although not all are yet. So on the site, we have several areas where there are summaries and news stories. So these little 3 columns, which is nice. They're called repeaters in Wix, and it's actually connected to a database that has the content in it, and that means a database call. And on the right, you can see what happens to the first between 5 and 15 seconds, nothing, and then it loads, which is absolutely appalling. And in the interface, you can actually you don't actually even get your content in the interface in the CMS. You've got this, I don't know what it is, something there, cardio stuff. So you have to go and publish it to actually see it working. So I recreated this look and feel and literally just cut and pasting content in there, which means it's not quite so easy to use, but you just shift stuff around and it just loads instantly. So there's no database calls. That's worth doing. Database is quite fun. You can actually download the content where you actually run a map, but it has badges and pins all over it where the groups are around the country. But if you do try and export the CSV, you can't, because you can't see where the export thing is. You actually have to shrink your view in your browser to get the export. Little tip for you there. That got me going for a little while. Anyway, we did that. We made some changes over the month, and then come May, we actually clawed our way above Wildlife Trust. You can see they've realized that and started fighting back now, which is good fun. But it's slow but steady progress. People are quite pleased with that. Individual keywords we've been tracking as well. You can see on the left-hand side with the green, Better Trust is the green. That's done quite well. We're happy with that. Bottom line is, though, is that there are a lot more visitors, a lot more interactions with the public, and their online shop is doing best it's ever done as well, which is exactly what we wanted. So what's next? Well, we've still got a way to go yet with knowledge graphs and questions and videos. Despite it being a Wix site, we think we can get there. We do have some opposition, BBC, Guardian, etc. This is a small charity. But you should never underestimate a badger. So how have my travels in the land of Wix been? Well, it's been interesting. I know a lot more about Wix as a CMS. Yes, you can do it. It is paying, but yes, you can actually do it. Wix is a really good entry point for small to medium-sized businesses, and it shouldn't be sneered at by SEOs. Would I specify it for a business? It really does depend. We've got a small project coming up soon, which we have specified it for, but it's absolutely fine for that. It's going to work perfectly. It's still got a long way to go. They do have a new editor coming out called Editor X, but I really think that is more based towards design. It does all nice mobile and what's it points to get your responsive web design. But let's see what the code comes out of that, because I think it's going to be hard as well. Am I done yet? Yes, I am. You can find me on Twitter, of course, and at the Corona Arms this Friday at the quiz, 7 o'clock UK. I hope to see you there. I'm Simon Cox.
Yay, Simon!
Hey, Joe.
That's amazing.
Thank you. That was great.
Tonight.
And yes, a shout out to the Corona Arms, organized by many people, including Chris Tibbins, Jules, loads of people organizing that, which is an event that takes place, well, every day, and there's a pub quiz on Friday. So we have lots of comments from everyone in the chat. So I'm just going to pick out some of the questions.
Can't be any questions.
Well, there's lots of comments, which is good. So I can't multitask, so I'm going to focus on the comments now and question section. Okay, so question for Simon. Are you pushing to migrate to a different CMS, or do you think it has more potential on Wix?
This sounds like only a question that comes from a farmer. No, I'm not pushing them towards it, because they don't the retainer we've got isn't enough to actually do that. If they ever get to the point where they say, right, here's a shed load of money, let's rebuild the site, then yeah, I might do that. But at the moment, it's fine. It works fine. You know, will we get to those top rankings and more stuff? I don't know. We've done the basics. We've really pushed it up. The visibility shot through the roof from 7K in November to about 50K now, which is down a bit, but it's doing well. If I had been in there 2 years ago when they built Wix in the first place, I wouldn't have specified it.
Okay.
Would I do that again now? No.
So then Claire's question, please write a hands-on roundup post for those of us that are brave enough to tackle a client with a Wix site. Looks like you have done a super job at problem solving. So write a post, please.
If I've got time, I'll spend my time tilting at Wix. But yeah, of course, I'll try and get that.
Should we give you some time? You can go to the time bank and get some there.
That'd be lovely.
You know, like that movie Just in Time with Justin Timberlake.
Yeah. There might be other things I choose first.
Can I have a question?
Of course.
So I know it's all drag and drop, and you showed how you can change things around. But how have you found? And I appreciate that Wix might not be your CMS of choice, and so there's a bit of time needed to like get around the system. But would you say it takes more time to make those changes because of the way Wix works?
Yeah, sometimes it does. It really feels much more like a publishing system like InDesign or Quark Express, etc. The way that the pages work, much more so, because you can style everything. And I spend a good deal of my time restyling stuff. When I pull a text box out into a page, it automatically styles it in the wrong typeface at the wrong size. So I have to go through and do that every time. Yeah. And I believe that you can make some default changes, but I haven't had the time yet to go through and do that, because if you can set a style to the defaults, but it will change it through the whole site. And I'm not really in a position to do that yet until they've really got their brand hammered down completely, and then I can go in and say, right, let's tweak the whole thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's okay.
It's okay.
And I think it can be used by, again, it's market-based business people. It's very easy to use from their point of view.
Okay, good. Well, we just have time for just a couple more questions, actually, from John. How easy is it to import or export moving to or from Wix?
No idea. I assume that it isn't. I assume that it isn't, yeah. There's things like the database content that's in there must be very easy. But the quickest way to get most content out of sites is to scrape it and then pull the content out of that. Now, putting it back into Wix, I don't know. I've not been in that horrible position.
So maybe that's one to look into later if you want to.
Yeah.
And one last question. Thank you, John, for that. From Alina. So I've heard Wix is working with SEOs to improve the platform. Have you seen changes towards this being true?
Not yet, and I would expect it to be a fair while. I'm actually in touch with the new head of SEO in Israel, although he hasn't written to me for at least 2 weeks now answering any of my questions, but I know who he is, and I have had some correspondence with him. So it's going to be really interesting to see where it gets to. There's things missing, like external links. You can't set no follows on them yet, or UCG or sponsorship links. You can't do anything with that. It's just a link, and that's it. So little bits like that I would like to see in there. I'll keep emailing and pestering them.
Yes, keep going on that one. We have 2 more questions, but perhaps we can answer them after with Maret. One from Wojciech. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Do you prefer to work with your site built in WordPress or Wix, and why? And then Claire, didn't Wix do stuff with Mary Hayes? But we'll just keep those, and then if we have time at the end after Maret's, we can come and ask them. So thank you very much, Simon, for all those tips about Wix. I learned a lot. I'm going to pass over to Maret now. He's going to be giving us a really good insights around topic clusters.
Absolutely.
So let me just add you. Oh, there it is. Looks like magic.
It's magic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Over to you.
Thanks so much, Joe, for organizing another really great Turn Digi, 12 speakers from across the world. I mean, I feel like I need to apologize coming after the amazing Areej and the fantastic Simon. It's a little bit like a sort of really disappointing cover band closing off Glastonbury or something. But here we are. Welcome to my talk. My name is Maret. As I've just referenced Glastonbury, I think it's appropriate that I've got a photo of myself here at a festival. Tomorrow, I'm celebrating my 1-year freelance life anniversary. I love telling a brand story using technical SEO, relevant and useful content, and then engaging with users through email marketing and automation. And as you can see, I love a fancy dress party. This is Bramble. Bramble is either running or napping. There is no in between, it's either on or off. She's also my freelance life mascot and loves chasing birds and sheep. This is relevant. It's not just because I like to show off my dog, although I do, and she does have her own Instagram. You can hit me up for that one. But this is relevant for the talk. So we're going to talk about topic clusters, the why and the how. But actually, first, the what. Topic clusters are groups of interlinked pages on a website which talk about different areas within the same topic. So I suppose it kind of looks like this, or maybe more like actually this. So what we want to create is a pillar page with cluster content around it, which interlinks between each other. So just like Simon just said, getting that interlinking right is really important. Well then, why would you implement topic clusters on your website? Reason one, your target audience. So we've just seen Bramble, I go back to this quote first. Search engines aren't your customers, it's humans who are. So let's use an example company called Wag and Bounce. And we also have an example audience. So this is Bramble, but let's have an example fictional audience type called Active Annie. She takes her dog on runs, wants the best nutrition for her dog, and looks for toys that are unbreakable. We'll come back to Active Annie in a minute, but secondly, I want to talk about the reasons why to use topic clusters. Reason two, the Google and other search engines. So there's been some updates on Google, namely BERT and EAT recently. BERT has helped Google understand natural language processing better and is therefore not really looking for the most instances of a keyword on a web page, but rather the web page that best matches the intent behind that keyword. So it tries to understand the answer that you want to see from your query. And EAT means that Google looks for, are there authoritative writers that have written articles about this topic? So creating topic clusters will help search engines understand that your business or your website is an authority in the field. So to put it really simply, write really great content for your users and fulfill the intent that they are seeking. By Brittany Muller. So how do we get started? Tip one, we are going to review your keyword research. So let's go back to this example company and Active Annie. It's quite likely that you've already done some kind of keyword research. So you've looked at relevant keywords, you've divided them into different areas, different topics. As you can see here, you can see that they're all divvied up in different buckets. And essentially, those are your topics. These are the different core topics, and the keywords that you have in there can likely help you to create the cluster pages around it and answer questions that are being asked. if you do keyword research and review search volume as well, it means that you can actively look at what people are searching for. Tip 2, audit your existing content, both online and offline. Now, this is going to come to a shock to people, but there's also content offline. It means that you might need to talk to some people. I know, shocker. But, you know, talk to your customers, but also talk to your sales team and your customer service team. They know the questions that are actually being asked, and they know how often they are repeated. They will a customer service team will likely have some template emails for questions that are asked over and over again. Now, get all of that existing content together and create a content audit. So in this case, I've made an example content audit for Wagon Bounce, where we have looked at the different content titles and topics. So those are the topic clusters coming together, as well as what kind of content it is. So is it a long form pillar page, or are they cluster pages sharing information? Which of your target audiences or which of your buyer personas is being targeted, and where are they in the buyer's journey stage? Because that makes a difference as well. Finally, I've added a column for online or offline content. And when you fill that all in, you can start seeing gaps around whether there is content for all your target audiences, or do you only have pages that are selling rather than just sharing information. Maybe you only have offline content for some of your audiences, and so you start to find the gaps that you can then easily fill. And tip number 3 is make sure that they are set up right. So I use Sidebulb for auditing my websites, and what you want to check is those internal links. So we had that diagram earlier of all the pages interlinking, but what if those interlinking URLs return a 400 code? That basically then tells Google, oh, well, that you can forget about that page. So make sure that you double check that, because yeah, you don't want your internal links to be broken. It will cause Rumble to do this. And tip 4 is keep going. Once you've worked on one topic cluster, it means that you can then expand into different areas and focus on more topics as you go along. And as you keep going, I tend to follow the Kaizen model, which is plan, do, review, and improve. So do that for one topic cluster and then move on to the next one, which is in line with what Areej said. Like, take one bit at a time, get that as good as you can get it, and then move on to the next bit so that it actually gets done. And that is me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maret. I think everyone loves your dog, including me. That I never had a dog. I just had a cat that I trained to be a dog. Didn't work so well. But, so we have some questions from the audience. So Claire, offline content, you say. Honestly, this is such an important point. We get so immersed in our own online world as an SEO. We really need to outreach in real life to the people on the ground. So obviously confirming what you've said. Let's see if we have any other questions. So at the beginning, I thought there was a question. Awesome job, Maret. Awesome from John. Thank you, Maret. So yes, authorship is so important within topic clusters too. Yep. So maybe just for the audience, you could just confirm about sort of authorship, because I know we had like Google had their own author, people had their own sort of author profiles, and when you typed in an article ages ago, like people's actual photos would appear. So are you saying that authorship is still important? So it's important to basically present who or make it clear who is writing that piece of content on that site.
Yes, if you can confirm that that is an authority. Like, I could write all about dogs all day, but I'm not authority about it. If you can get someone like a vet or a dog nutritionist, people that Google can confirm, or other search engines can confirm their authority, that is really powerful.
So what happens though if you know, let's take that dog site for example. So they've got different articles going live about, I don't know, how to keep your dog cool in summer, obviously in the northern hemisphere at this time of year. You know, the best parks to take your dogs to. For the people that are writing this content, people obviously on that team. So let's call it Pets R Us or something. So at Pets R Us, would it be best to actually be really clear on the site of who is writing this content and have an author page for them?
I think personally, I think there's value in that, just because it gives it background, and you can then check, has this person written one article ever and there's no bio, for example, or has this person written loads about you know, different national parks that are great to visit, or ways to accommodate your pet, essentially.
Okay, yeah, so it's great to have these authorship ones. Perfect, thank you. So we just have a question here about, if you have a big list of search queries, what's the best way to bucket these and identify your topic clusters?
So I'm taking that the person means, how do I decide? How do I decide what to target in which topic cluster?
Yeah, clear. Yeah, just clarification.
Sure. Well, I think, being completely honest, I think there's definitely articles that will sit in 2 or 3 or even more topic clusters because they are relevant to different areas. And that is okay. I think it's more important to create the content that's useful to your audience and shares information that is relevant than to really seal off the topics, if that makes sense. It's okay if there's some small lines going out and linking to other topic clusters.
Okay, so it's okay that there's a bit of overlap, then we don't need to get too paranoid about that.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good. Melina asks, what's your favorite tools to use for keyword research? Sitebulb, I think, was mentioned, but have you got any others?
Yeah, I use Sitebulb for my audits in any case, because they give, like, in their hint section, they specifically list out any broken internal links. For keyword research, I tend to start at Search Console and then just make a use of a variety of online tools to do more digging around different keywords and their search volumes.
Okay, great. So we'll definitely be looking at those, your slides later. Will you be sharing them on Twitter and LinkedIn? Or on? Okay, perfect. I just wanted to go back just to a couple of questions that people asked earlier. We didn't have time to answer. So, sorry, just looking into it here. Oh, there's a lot of comments. So, maybe it would be easier if those people that we didn't. Oh, here we go. So to here, do you prefer to? This is to Simon. Do you prefer to work with your site built in WordPress or Wix, and why?
And the reality is that I've hardly worked on any WordPress sites. There we go. I do actually work on a list apart. That I do some stuff for them. That's good fun. That's slightly different. Mainly, we build our own websites anyway, so we're using other CMS systems. I think WordPress is becoming more tempting now simply because of the stuff that Google's doing with them, and I think that's from now on is going to be quite important, and I will be looking into that more and more.
And did Wix do some stuff with Mary Haynes?
Yeah, they had a competition last year, which is the second competition. There was another competition year before about getting people into SEO thing, getting Wix sites ranking, and then last year Mary Haynes' team won a competition which is similar, and that's basically proving that Wix can be used to rank sites, which it can. It's really you've got to have good content.
Yeah. So yeah, and that's obviously mirrored, of course, in Maret, which goes over to another question to you, actually, Maret. Is EAT important for e-commerce websites?
Yes, in the sense that I would, even for e-commerce websites, I would recommend that you create useful content, relevant content for those visiting your website. And as you're creating content, you'd want to make sure that that is written by entities that can be verified.
Okay.
In very short.
In very short, quick answer. No, that was great. We have another question. I'm Sabia. I'm a freelancer myself. What are your top 3 free tools? I think this is to Maret.
Cool. Although I think Simon should definitely answer this as well. I did answer in the comments as well, but for keyword research, I'd start with Search Console and Google Ads. So you have a really good list of things that people are actually coming to your website for, and then finding related keywords using Google Ads, and then to sort of widen your topic ideas, I go to places like alsoask.com and Amazon Public.
And Simon?
I would just add to that, obviously Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets, etc. is an absolute godsend, not only because it's free, but because it's online. So if you're not going to lose stuff and you can share stuff easily with people, that's really quite key as well. But you are going to have to pay for decent tools.
Yeah, I think there's no getting away from it. But, you know, it's worth it. We have another question from John, actually. Online food delivery sites, ? I'm not sure if he means any recommended ones. Oh, eat for food. Oh, okay. Oh,
cheese shops.
That was a joke. Sorry, I'm slow sometimes for the jokes. Well, thank you very much. I think that's all the questions we have for today. Big thank you to Areej and Simon and Maret for sharing their tips with us today. We have got another session in store with everyone this afternoon, and that will be, let me just can't multitask, I'm just opening my screen. So we have Joelle dialing in from Canada to be with us to talk at 3:30 BST or 10:30 a.m. her time. Cheryl's going to be talking about how she built up her agency and basically the importance of workplace culture, something that's very much underestimated, I think, in some companies. And Chris is going to be talking about automate or die trying. So really how you can be as efficient as possible. And Joelle's actually going to be talking about how small business owners can actually get ahead in the SERPs, even though there is a lot of competition. So come back in 30 minutes or exactly 35 minutes from now and tune in for our last session of Turn Digi. Again, if those of you have enjoyed the video, click the like button for those that have not, and register or subscribe, to our YouTube channel. So thank you again for everyone for coming on today. It's Turn Digi, or as Areej said, our third big event. And really happy to have such great speakers involved and a brilliant audience as well. So we'll see you for our last session of the day at 3:30 p.m. or 4:30 if you're in Europe, like mainland Europe, like John and I, or 10:30 a.m. if you're in the East Coast. So look forward to seeing you then. Thank you, everyone. I'm just writing a thank you in the chat. Oh, ta-ta for now. Yes, thanks, Sandy.